on WhatsApp and have that 5-minute call with her so she can connect you to the best network. Also, simultaneous translation is still available on TTV AI if you need from English to Mandarin or vice versa. And last but not least, remember to keep hashtagging and posting on socials. Well, it's again the time to introduce our next speakers, from volatility to legitimacy, the next chapter of crypto. And obviously, who is better to lead this conversation than none other than Anthony Starr, co-founder and CEO of Finoverse, in conversation with Richard Teng, Chief Executive Officer of Binance. Please welcome them on the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. So the Hong Kong FinTech Week is 10 years anniversary to this day. And I was looking at the stages, and it's kind of interesting, the transformation you see. Bankers, like 10 years ago, they were all tied up. And now they're removing the ties, and they're like, oh, we are pro-crypto. We are all for digital assets. And at the same time, the crypto guys are putting the ties on and like, no, we're very compliant. So
No. We're still not putting on the tie.
Yes. So Richard is special. In his case, he used to be a regulator himself. You run the regulation in MAS. You built a foundation for a lot of digital asset regulation back in the DGM in Abu Dhabi before joining Binance. And one of your colleagues described you told you when you announced this decision to join Binance that you're entering Jurassic Park. Are we still in Jurassic Park in crypto world, or where we are now in this sort of roller coaster cycle at the moment?
Less so. So you mentioned this is the 10th edition of Hong Kong FinTech Week. Congratulations. Hi, Hong Kong. 大家好. It's great to be back in Hong Kong given the dynamism. I always like to be back here. So you are 10 years old. Binance is only an 8-year-old firm. And crypto industry is very young, but we have seen quite a lot of crypto adoption, right? And institutionalization. I think 2024, 2025 have been 2 big years for institutionalization. If you look at 10 years back, institutional participation accounts for less than 1% within the crypto asset space, right? If you look at today, it's close to 20%. So you have grown by at least 20-folds in a span of 10 years, right? But the last 2 years have been very significant, right? So firstly, with the approval of ETF last year, firstly in the United States, and then subsequently throughout the world, including in Hong Kong, I think that gave institutional participation a big boost. Thereafter, you have many crypto skeptics from banks and financial institutions saying that, no, this is a passing fad, it will go away. And then last year, Larry Finn said, I'm a crypto believer.
Jamie Dimon just last week.
Jamie Dimon, who for this longer time the biggest skeptic
crypto is real.
of crypto, said, no, don't ask me about crypto, it's a scam. He said, and last week he said everything will be on blockchain, everything is crypto. Stablecoin is, every bank will be using stablecoin because it represents a far superior technology in terms of transfer of value. So we have seen that picking pace, and the pace of adoption will only get faster from now on, right? So because the governments around the world are giving more clarity into this space now compared to the past. I mean, I look at what came out in Hong Kong recently. Kudos to the regulatory agencies and the governments here to say that Hong Kong will be an global innovation hub for digital assets. I think that's a very good ambition to be in. And of course, President Trump in the United States has been very visionary in saying that US will be the crypto capital of the world, will be the AI capital of the world. Because these are the 2 critical technologies that will drive every economic subsector going forward. So by being the forerunners, by being the leaders, US will maintain its economic power going forward.
But do you, historically, crypto market is a roller coaster, right? We all go ups and downs. And do you see with institutional adoption is kind of increasing, do you see that will be a sign of maturing the market? Is more like becoming transparent, or where we are now with the cycle?
Oh, so maybe I got involved in crypto around 2017, right? So that's where I was a regulator, I discovered this asset class. And the more I know about this, the more I know that this has the ability to solve many pain points, right? So if you look at traditionally how we do transfer of value, remittance take 2 to 3 days, is extremely costly to reach the recipient. If you do crypto, the recipient receives it instantaneously at a fraction of the cost, right? So if you look at even trading of stocks, bonds, asset classes, you're still on, in many countries around the world, T+2, T+3 settlement. In crypto, we have gone atomic settlement, right? So you trade, you have eliminated the clearing and settlement risk. So it's a far superior technology compared to many of those. But for the longest time, it has been, this asset class is very strange, right? All the other asset class are embraced by institutions first, then it flows down to corporates, accredited investors, and then finally retail. This asset class has been embraced by retail for the longest time after the last financial crisis where people said, hey, we need a better form of payment system compared to traditional banks, right? That fails from time to time. And that's where Bitcoin came about. And retail embracing it and institutions, corporates, family office was ignoring it for the longest time until sort of 2024, right? So, and my thesis back in 2017 is for it to go mainstream, you need two elements to come into play. Firstly, you need clear regulations, which we don't have for the longest time, because regulators are not spending time and energy and resources to understand this space. And secondly, you need institutional adoption, because any asset class that's just retail participants tend to be very volatile, right? The breadth and depth of it is not deep enough. But once the institution come through, they have different duration, different investment techniques, strategy, etc., etc. And hence, the depth and breadth of this asset class is very different today. So you look at the volatility has declined quite a fair bit as well.
But the decrease in volatility comes also with the price of, I mean, I'm curious what you think about the idea behind the cryptocurrency. Is something that opposes of centralization that is positively affecting the volatility. But in reality, what we're facing is that the ideals of the crypto, of decentralization, the inclusivity, democratization, are sort of compromised by the big institutions, big banks coming back and taking over. What's your thought on this?
No, I don't feel like that, right? So if you look at it, the more we can bring about different form of players into this arena, the more vibrant the activities are, right? So while crypto, the technology hinges on decentralized nature, immutability, etc., etc., there are many centralized players in this space, right? That really brings out the best of this technology, right? So for example, Binance is a centralized exchange. Right? There are decentralized exchange out there, but I do think that we offer to our users far superior customer service, right? We engage our users very closely. We know what they want. We build products that they want. So by far, we are the largest crypto exchange globally, serving more than close to 300 million customers globally, and most regulated exchange now with 22 different jurisdictions under our belt in terms of license. So we continue to build products that our users want to do, and we like to think that we are a platform that brings across the best in the centralized space as well as decentralized space. So CDFI.
CDFI, interesting.
Yeah.
And Richard, you came to Binance at the time of a turbulence time for Binance, and your mandate was to put every house into sort of order and system. You put the most emphasis on compliance. You hired how many? 1,000, hundreds, 1,300?
1,300.
1,300 compliance managers. And how does it work with sort of agility, the speed, the idea behind the previous era, or CZ era, I call it, where you break it first and then ask for forgiveness, not for permission, and move. How do you balance between these two approaches?
Well, I think that's not quite right. So maybe if I can just digress on that front. Binance started in 2017. At that point in time, crypto adoption was less than 1%. Right? So today it's about 7.5%. So it's a very niche asset class. And in 2017, if you talk to any regulators, none of the regulators was paying attention to this space. Right? So it's a very nascent industry. The rules are unclear. The institutions are saying that it's a passing fad, it's a scam, you'll go away, right? So nobody was paying much attention to that. So in that landscape, where the rules are unclear, a lot of times, you are not quite sure what to do, and also underinvested in those early days in terms of compliance, right? So, but even when CZ or CEO, and we saw the direction of change to say that the regulators are starting to look at this space and provide clarity, we have started to invest a lot into compliance, right, when CZ was a CEO. So it's not true that CZ didn't quite invest into compliance. We had done a lot of things on the compliance front on that. And CZ is the visionary leader. He has put in place a very strong DNA, a very strong mission statement for Binance. And we have an excellent team of very senior leaders, right? So all kudos to his work, right? So I am standing on the shoulders of giant on that front. I'm just continuing that. But when I became CEO, I said there are 3 things that we want to do at Binance, right? So the first thing for us to continue to thrive as a largest ecosystem in the world is to make sure that we continue to give users the products and services that they want, to build the best-in-class platform, the most secure, the most transparent, with the best features out there. Secondly, given the direction of travel is very clear, with much more compliance, we're going to devote a lot of time and energy on that front to make sure that we make compliance a competitive advantage for ourselves. So we have invested greatly. If you look at our compliance spend, last year we increased more than 30%. This year again increased by more than 30%, right? So our compliance headcount is more than 1,300 staff now. We are most regulated, as I mentioned. So we continue to work very closely with global regulators to make sure that smart regulations continue to be developed to really support this industry on that. And thirdly, wherever we do local deployment, we want to work with local partners, be them banks, payment providers, or the local projects, etc. Because it's still very early in this industry. And the more that we can work together to develop the industry, to develop the ecosystem, everybody is better off. And being the largest ecosystem, we will benefit from that.
Richard, you've done a tremendous job over the years to really bring the level of compliance and transparency and overall sort of efficiency in that sense for Binance. Now that with the last week's news, and you mentioned Trump, the pardon of CZ, does it mean that we need to look at different lens of the sort of CZ era, the previous before you stepped in? Does it mean that how do you envision this conversation with other regulators globally who may not be the same opinion as Trump towards the CZ?
Okay, so first of all, let me address a few things, right? So first of all, we're very, very thankful to President Trump for the pardon. It's fantastic news for the Binance family and community and for the crypto industry at large. People know CZ contributed greatly to the industry and, of course, creating Binance, the largest ecosystem in the world. So on that front, we are deeply grateful. We're also deeply grateful to President Trump for his leadership, for championing crypto adoption globally by saying that US wants to be the crypto capital of the world, forces every country in the world. Quite a fair bit of those activities, and kudos to that. On the Binance angle, we continue to focus on what we do, right? To make sure that we are the best platform out there for users. We are trying to look forward to onboard the next billion users onto the platform. We have global footprint and global ambition, and we continue to work closely with global regulators, right? So we're going to make more announcements on those fronts in terms of more licensing to come, but also global partnerships. So you have seen a convergence of what we call Web 2 space, the traditional financial institutions, and the Web 3 space, which is where we are. And we are seeing that there's a lot of interest coming through, right? So the previous panel discussed things like tokenization, stablecoin. All the bank CEOs are saying, and they have been denying stablecoin for the longest time, or pushing back on the crypto story for the longest time. Now they are saying everything will be on blockchain, everything will be using crypto because it's a far superior technology. So we are helping quite a number of these financial institutions. We have announced an agreement of Franklin Templeton. We have several more that we're going to announce. But we are on this journey together to really help bring about a far greater convergence between Web 2 and Web 3.
You mentioned you in conversation with a lot of the regulators globally. A few licenses are coming up. What do you think, from your point of view, as the ex-regulator, as the CEO of one of the largest exchanges in the world, what are the other regulators still don't get about crypto?
I would say that it varies. It really depends. It's an entire spectrum of things, right? So I have very, very interesting dialogues with regulators. I would say that one of the key challenges of regulatory agencies is this, right? They are not given enough resources to be, because for any regulatory agency, you have different priorities within a given year. You are given a limited set of budget, and then you just have to prioritize, right? And then you normally prioritize to existing industry. For new industry, they tend to prioritize less, right? And that's one of the key challenges because they don't understand this industry enough. They don't understand that it works very differently. So I have conversation with regulators that say, hey, how do you do clearing and settlement, right? What's your time cycle? Is it T+2, T+3? And we try to explain to them, look, we have eliminated those risks through atomic settlement. They don't understand that. They said, no, we need to see T+2. And then they said, oh, we need you to go through local broker-dealers on that front. We said, no, 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 no. Because we allow users to onboard directly with us, we have disintermediated the brokers. We help users save fees and charges. They don't understand that concept, right? So there are a lot of challenges trying to force-feed the current regulatory model, which is set up in a certain fashion that's more suited for the past, and then getting them to understand how blockchain works, right? That sort of challenges those norms. We have worked with traditional financial institutions, and they come to us, and we say, you know, we are going to work on certain products. They are telling us, can you slow your clearing and settlement down to T+1? Otherwise, we can't quite, you know, do the clearing and settlement review because they need that. Their system has been engineered and done everything that way. But we say, but you know, isn't this a far superior system? Yeah, but you know, we can't quite catch up yet. So we have a lot of those conversations as it's an education process, right? It's trying to get them understand this technology and what it represents and why it is superior. It helps save costs. It's so much faster. It solves so many pain points. And financial inclusion is still a big problem in many parts of the world. And people are turning to crypto because it solves all the problems where financial institutions fail to solve. I've been involved in financial sector for more than 30 years now. And financial inclusion has been a big theme. We need to bring more people into financial services. But 30 years on, it's still a big problem today.
It is, it is. And we're today in Hong Kong. Your home is in Singapore. You work out of Abu Dhabi and travel around the world. We see is with all these regulators now stepping in with different regulations and various regimes for the crypto and digital assets. There's a growing competition now that with the US, the Trump administration, joining this sort of competition. Where do you see the Hong Kong versus other crypto hubs globally, and what's the competitive edge, and where do you see we could improve?
Well, Hong Kong is a global international financial center, so it has a lot of natural advantages, right? So you have mature banking, you have a very dynamic and deep capital market. So there are plenty of advantages that you can harness on. You have a big hinterland in China, but it's harnessing on those, right? So I do applaud the Hong Kong's government's effort. I mean, I spoke to a lot of senior political leaders and the senior regulators here. I think there's a general willingness to really support this industry. So I applaud and kudos those efforts. The ambition is there. So, but what we need to do is to go down to execution level and to continue to push the journey, right, on that front, to come up with smart regulations to really support the industry. Talk more with not only local industry players, but global industry players to really support Hong Kong as an ambition, right? So, but as you can see, everywhere we see smart regulations coming through, the local industry and development takes off in a very big way. Under President Biden, which is quite anti-crypto, no clear regulations, sort of crypto activities in US suffered. And then when President Trump took over, it just went through the roof. So in terms of global crypto adoption index, the US ranking just jumped, right, up the curve because of what President Trump has done. And you'll see that replicated in every country around the world once smart regulations, clear regulations come through, because it gives confidence and trust into this industry. But Hong Kong has many natural advantages, and I applaud more efforts on that front to come out with more clarity, more enabling provisions to help the industry.
There's one question I want to ask you personally, because we talked a lot about AI today, and also Web3 and crypto. Now, obviously, what we're looking at is convergence of these two trends. You have programmable money, you have technology that can perfectly complement each other. Where do you see this, and when it's going to happen, how it's going to develop, and what kind of role you see for Binance in this space?
Well, these are two complementary technology, right? So if you look at AI, it's able to process large amount of data, right? But sometimes people do not know what goes going inside in those algorithms. Whereas blockchain is immutable, right? So if you combine these two technologies, it's perfect to solve many problems. So if you look at the middle and back office of just financial institutions in general, they are doing accounting, reconciliation, settlement. If you just rely on AI and blockchain going forward, which is what is motivating the banks towards tokenization of all the different products. Even if you can't bring new liquidity into asset class, you will sort out and you will sort of replace a lot of middle and back office function on that front. Right? There's a lot of cost efficiency to be achieved. So it's the same everywhere. So internally within Binance, we use a lot of AI. So we are investing a lot on that front. We make sure every senior leaders know the usage of AI. All of us have to go through courses on that. We are asked to set up AI agents to solve problems internally. So we are going to invest greatly. And every time people ask for headcount, we say, can you solve it through AI, et cetera, et cetera. So those efficiency, but it's different aspects of AI in different types of functions, from compliance to customer service, to even things like legal, et cetera, et cetera.
But I'm curious to hear from you as the next regulator again. Like, with increasingly AI would be playing more and more role, especially in crypto market. We may end up with, and then we see a lot of startups now experimenting with autonomous AI agents in trading. Can this become, at a certain point, a situation where you have autonomous agents doing bets and trade that can lead to a systemic crisis in the crypto market that no even human regulator will be able to assess? How do you prepare for this?
I'm sure there's a kill switch, right? So if they are responsible traders, I'm sure there's a kill switch somewhere, because that's part of their risk management, risk mitigation measure. But it's not only in the crypto market, right? If you look at all different markets where, you know, algos, HFTs get into, people are already starting to use AIs for those trading, right? So it cuts across different asset class. So it's not a crypto asset class issue per se.
Okay, the last question to you, Richard. I did a little bit of background research on you, and you came from humble beginnings.
Yes, I do.
At some point, I read, is it correct that you were selling durians back in your teenage time? Or?
Yes, I sold durians when I was a teenager in Singapore. Yeah.
So what would be one piece of advice to the young people in the audience who are looking into sort of career in the crypto, in the blockchain world? Given that your experience and over the years, what will be one piece of advice to them? What they should be focusing their attention right now?
Well, I would say that whatever industry that you choose to be, you must have a passion for it, and you must be hungry, right? Don't assume that you know everything, right? So I'm in my 50s now. I wake up every day and there's new things to learn in my industry, because crypto AI is developing so quickly. So be hungry and always be willing to learn. Talk to others, find out more, and you will appreciate the journey, right? So enjoy the journey, but be hungry in terms of learning.
Be hungry, guys. Thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Passion indeed. And our next exciting fireside chat, building the new generation.